Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a really fascinating old story you sent us called The White Snake.
Yeah, it's a great one. It touches on some pretty deep ideas, actually. Wisdom, communication,
Yeah,
kindness, surprisingly.
exactly. And the plot itself is, well, it's quite the ride. You've got a king with this big secret,
Uh,
a servant who gets a bit too curious, a lost ring, animals that suddenly start talking.
or, well, he can suddenly understand them, right?
Right, exactly. He understands him. Then there are impossible tasks. A princess,
Hmm.
the whole fairy tale package, but with some interesting twists.
It really explores how one little thing, just a moment of, I guess, giving in to curiosity, can completely change someone's path.
Yeah, and brings in all these surprising connections, especially with the natural world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we want to dig into. Like, what happens when you can understand animals? How does that simple taste of the snake reshape his whole destiny?
And what's the story telling us about, how interconnected everything really is?
Okay, let's start at the beginning with the king,
Right. The king. He's known everywhere for being incredibly wise, like supernaturally wise almost. The story says he knew everything.
which immediately makes you think, how? What's his secret?
Well, and then there's this ritual every single day at noon.
After everyone else leaves.
Yeah,
Completely secret.
exactly. A servant, just one trusted servant, brings him this covered dish, and the king eats it totally alone. Nobody, not even the servant, is supposed to know what's inside.
That secrecy is key, isn't it? It just builds the intrigue. What could possibly be in that dish?
You got it. It sets up this mystery right in the heart of the court's routine, and for the servant bringing it day after day.
Oh, the temptation must have been huge.
Totally.
Yeah.
And eventually, his curiosity just boils over. He can't stand it anymore.
So one day, he takes the dish, sneaks off to his own room, locks the door. Big moment.
Deep breath.
Lifts the cover. And what's there?
A coiled white snake.
Wow, okay. And in folklore, snakes often mean
What?
hidden knowledge, transformation.
Yeah, exactly. Both those things. So him finding a white snake feels significant. And then he doesn't just look.
He tastes it. Just a tiny piece.
A tiny impulsive taste, and bang, everything changes instantly.
He hears this chirping
Hmm.
outside his window. But it's different now.
Right. It's not just noise anymore. He listens, and he realizes he can understand them. It's the sparrows.
Talking to each other
Hmm.
about what they'd seen, gossip from the fields,
Mhm.
just normal sparrow talk.
Yeah. And suddenly he has this key, this ability to tap into a whole hidden layer of the world. It's not just a party trick either. It becomes absolutely critical, like right away.
Almost immediately, yeah.
Mhm.
Because disaster strikes. The queen loses her most valuable ring.
Her favorite one. And guess who gets the blame?
Our servant? Because he has access
Quickly.
everywhere, right? He's the trusted one.
Exactly. The suspicion falls squarely on him, and the king is furious.
He basically says, find the real thief by morning or you're going down for it.
Talk about pressure. He knows he's innocent, but how on earth does he prove it? He can't exactly say, the sparrows told me.
Huh. No, probably not the best defense. So he's desperate, wandering around the courtyard, probably freaking out.
Totally lost. And that's when his new ability kicks in again, but in a much more, down-to-earth way.
He's near the pond.
And he hears the ducks just quacking away, talking duck talk.
What are they saying?
Mostly just complaining, preening, typical stuff. But then one says something like, oh man, my stomach feels heavy.
Uh-huh.
I was eating in a hurry by the queen's window this morning, and I think I swallowed her ring.
No way.
Yeah,
Just like that. Casually dropped into conversation.
just like that. The key to his whole problem, revealed in the most ordinary way imaginable. It's brilliant, really. Shows how information is just out there.
If you know how to listen. So what does he do? He can't exactly interrogate the duck.
Well, he does the next best thing. He grabs the duck, takes it straight to the royal cook,
Okay.
tells the cook, prepare this one for the king. The cook notices it's kind of plump, but shrugs, does his job.
Yeah.
And then, sure enough, inside the duck, there's the queen's ring.
Phew. Okay. Crisis averted. Servant is innocent.
Completely vindicated. And the king feels terrible, obviously. He's so grateful, he tells the servant, ask for anything. High office, riches, whatever you want.
This is his chance, right? Move up in the world.
You'd think so. But something's changed in him. That taste of the snake, understanding the animals, maybe seeing how precarious his position was, it's broadened his horizons.
The court life doesn't seem so appealing anymore.
Exactly. He's had a glimpse of something more, something different. So he doesn't ask for gold or titles.
What does he ask for?
A horse and some money for travel. He says he wants to go out and see the world.
That's a huge shift from servant to adventurer, all because of that one bite.
It really sets him on a totally new path, and his travels immediately involve using this ability, but now more out of empathy.
Right. So his first encounter.
He finds these 3 fish. They're caught up in the reeds by a pond, gasping, basically stuck.
Yeah, I can hear them. Even fish.
Apparently so. He hears them lamenting, we're going to die here. So even though most people wouldn't think twice, he gets off his horse.
And helps them back into the water.
Yep, a simple act of kindness. And as they swim off, they call back, "We'll remember this. We'll repay you."
Interesting. A promise from a fish? Does he think much of it?
The story doesn't really say, but it sets up this pattern: kindness given, promise of return. It suggests this hidden economy of favors in the natural world.
So what's next on his journey?
He's riding along, and he hears this tiny voice, really faint, coming from the ground.
Okay.
It's an the Ant King, actually.
Ant King. Seriously.
Seriously. And he's complaining loudly about these clumsy humans and their great beasts, always trampling our paths, directed right at the servant's horse.
Okay. And the servant?
He doesn't just ignore it, he actually listens. He gets it. So he carefully guides his horse off their path, goes around them.
Another small act of consideration.
And just like the fish, the Ant King calls out, "We won't forget this. One good turn deserves another."
Okay, I'm sensing a theme here. Fish, ants. What else?
The next one's a bit more intense. He finds these young raven chicks. They've been pushed out of the nest by their parents.
Why?
The parents basically say, "You're old enough now. Fend for yourselves. We're done feeding you."
Oh, that's harsh. But the chicks, they can't fly yet.
Nope, too young. They're just on the ground, helpless, crying, starving. It's a pretty bleak scene.
And the servant witnesses this. What does he do? He can't exactly teach them to fly.
No, he does something pretty drastic. It's described as the ultimate act of compassion in this context.
Which is?
He kills his own horse.
What? His only way of travel?
His horse, yeah. He draws a sword, kills it, and leaves the carcass for the raven chicks to feed on. It's a massive sacrifice.
Wow, okay. That's definitely escalating the kindness stakes.
It really is. And the ravens, between mouthfuls, promise him the same thing. "We are eternally grateful. We will repay you."
Fish, ants, ravens. He's racking up some serious IOUs in the animal kingdom. And it seems genuine, right? He's not doing it expecting a reward.
Not at all. It seems purely driven by empathy, by his ability to understand their suffering, which, is what makes the payoffs later feel earned.
So now he's on foot. Where does he end up?
Eventually, after walking for a long time, he reaches this huge, grand city, and the whole city's buzzing.
About what?
The princess, she's looking for a husband, but there's a catch, a big one.
Of course there is. Let me guess. Impossible tasks.
Bingo. Anyone who wants to marry her has to complete some task she sets. And if they fail,
it doesn't end well.
It ends fatally. Lots of guys have apparently already tried and failed. Miserably.
High stakes. So our servant arrives, hears all this.
And then he sees the princess, and she's so beautiful, he completely forgets about the danger. Like, instantly smitten.
Love at first sight, dangers be damned.
Pretty much. He goes straight to the king and says, "Yep, I'm here. I'll take the challenge. I want to marry the princess."
Bold move for a guy who just arrived on foot with no horse. Was the first task.
The king takes him down to the seashore, takes a golden ring, winds up, and throws it way out into the ocean. Tells the servant, "Fetch that back. If you come back without it, you get tossed in repeatedly until you drown."
Cheerful. Okay, that seems genuinely impossible. How's he going to find a tiny ring in the whole ocean?
Right. He's just standing there on the beach probably thinking, well, this was a bad idea.
Yeah, maybe should have stuck with the ants.
But then, who should pop up out of the water?
Let me guess. Not the ants. The fish.
The 3 fish he saved, they swim right up to him, and the middle one has something in its mouth.
A mussel. Like a clamshell.
Exactly. It spits the mussel shell onto the sand at his feet. He opens it up.
And the ring is inside.
The golden ring. Perfect. Payback number 1 arrives right on cue.
Amazing. Okay, so he takes the ring back to the king. Surely now the princess is impressed.
You'd think. He presents the ring. But the princess, she finds out he's not royalty, just some traveler.
Snobbery raises its head.
Big time. She's scornful. Says, "Okay, fine, you did that one, but you're not good enough yet." And she sets task number 2.
Which is? Please don't say count all the sand grains.
Close. She takes him to the palace garden, has 10 huge sacks of millet seed brought out.
Okay.
And she has them emptied, scattered all over the lawn. Every single tiny grain.
Oh, come on.
His job, pick up every single grain, put it back in the sacks, not one missing, by sunrise tomorrow morning.
That's meticulous. And impossible without, like, 1,000 helpers.
Exactly. He's totally dejected, sits down in the garden thinking it's over. How could anyone do that?
Does he have some tiny friends who are good at carrying tiny things?
He does indeed. As night falls, he probably drifts off, feeling hopeless. But when the sun starts to rise,
What does he see?
he looks around. And there they are, 10 sacks, all standing neatly filled to the brim, not a single grain left on the grass.
The ants. The Ant King and his entire colony came through.
The whole army. They worked all night. Payback number 2. Incredible loyalty from the ant world.
The princess must be losing her mind at this point. He keeps doing the impossible.
She's definitely stunned, but still proud, still resistant. She says, okay, 2 tasks done. But there's one more.
Always one more. What is it this time?
You won't marry me, she says, unless you bring me an apple. From the tree of life?
The Tree of Life. Okay, now we're firmly in mythical territory. Does he even know where that is?
Not a clue. He doesn't even know which direction to walk. This seems like the ultimate dead end.
So he just wanders off, hoping for the best.
Pretty much. He sets out again, walks for days, weeks, maybe longer, through forests, over mountains, just lost. Hope is fading fast.
This feels like the lowest point. He's done all this, sacrifice so much.
Exactly. He's exhausted, probably despairing. He collapses under a tree in some deep woods to rest.
That's then.
A miracle.
He hears a sound above him, a rustling in the branches, and something drops right into his hand.
Don't tell me.
A beautiful, perfect golden apple.
The apple from the tree of life. How?
At the same moment, 3 birds land softly on his knees.
Not just any birds.
The 3 raven chicks he saved. All grown up now. Wow. They remembered.
They tell him they heard about his quest, and out of gratitude for saving their lives, they flew, literally to the ends of the earth.
Across oceans.
Across oceans to where the tree of life grows, just to fetch this apple for him. Payback number 3, and arguably the biggest one.
That's incredible. The horse sacrifice paid back in the most epic way possible.
It really ties it all together, doesn't it? The interconnectedness, the long memory of kindness.
So, armed with the ultimate mythical fruit, he heads back to the city.
Back to the princess. He presents the golden apple.
And this time, does she finally give in?
This time she has no more arguments, no more tasks. Maybe seeing the apple convinces her. Maybe his persistence. Who knows?
Or maybe the apple itself has some magic.
Could be. Because the story says they share the apple, they each take a bite.
The apple of life. Sharing it.
And as they eat it, their hearts fill with love for each other. Mutual love this time.
So the final hurdle wasn't just completing the task, but sharing the reward.
It seems that way. And after that, well, it's the classic ending. They get married.
And live happily ever after.
Long and happily ever after. A truly earned happy ending, I think.
Absolutely. When you break it down like that, it's quite a journey from curious servant to king consort, all thanks to a snake and some timely animal interventions.
It really is. And I think the core takeaway beyond just the adventure is that power of empathy. Tasting the snake didn't just give him an ability, it seemed to open his heart somehow.
Yeah, his ability to understand led directly to his willingness to act kindly, even when it cost him something significant, like his horse.
And those acts, which seemed small or random at the time, helping fish, avoiding ants, feeding birds, they weren't random at all. They built this network of goodwill.
A web of connections that came back to help him exactly when he needed it most. It makes you think about the white snake itself again.
The catalyst for it all.
Yeah, this forbidden knowledge, this secret language.
Yeah.
It unlocked not just power, but responsibility maybe, and connection.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? What other languages are out there? Not just animal speech, but, the language of the environment, subtle cues we miss.
Things we're not attuned to listen to?
Exactly. Are we missing connections, missing understanding, just because we don't have the white snake moment to tune us in?
That's a really interesting thought. So maybe the final thing to mull over from this deep dive is that ripple effect.
Mm-hmm. Cause and effect.
Our interactions, even tiny ones, with the world around us, people, animals, nature, they might be weaving threads we don't even see.
What small kindnesses? What moments of attention or empathy might we be overlooking today that could, perhaps unexpectedly, shape our tomorrow?
And what does this old fairy tale really suggest about how we should relate to the natural world? Is it just a resource, or is it full of potential allies, full of voices waiting to be heard?
deep thoughts to end on. It's been fascinating revisiting this one.
It really has. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us into the White Snake.